As county assessor, she continued to be involved with Toastmasters. Michele served as Division C director and was recognized as the Division C Director of the Year, as well as Toastmaster of the Year by Division C. Even after her retirement as county assessor in 2019, she continues to recognize and enjoy the many benefits of Toastmasters, especially the friendships developed over the last 11 years. Michele has held just about every club officer position between her two current clubs. She currently serves as secretary for both of her clubs. It's my pleasure to ask you to welcome distinguished Toastmaster Michele Shafe.
Thank you, Bob. Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to have you here for secretary training. I'm going to do some online website training as well for anyone who is new. I saw that there was one question in the chat about how do you update your officer list, so I will be showing you how to do that. So first, let's go to my presentation. Secretary is a very important role. Some people might think, oh, it's just secretary, but no, it's important. You'll see all of the duties that are involved and why it's important, especially in helping your club get that point for getting your officer list in on time. So today we're going to cover the secretary role, the responsibilities, and also some resources available to you. We want you to know what your role is all about, know about your responsibilities, and also know about the resources out there to help you with those. And there are many. So you'll have responsibilities at the club meeting, before and after the club meeting, as well as your executive committee. And for those of you who may wonder, what is an executive committee? Because I've been in clubs who haven't had a single executive committee meeting. The executive committee is supposed to be a meeting of the club officers. So that can be from president all the way to sergeant at arms. And it's nice to have those meetings outside of the regular meeting to discuss club business and club direction. So that's what an executive committee meeting is, in short, if you've never heard of one or never been to one.
Michele,
hopefully you have.
Michele, we're not seeing your slides.
Oh, you're not?
No.
Oh, okay.
So I think you need to go to new share, because
Yeah, I thought I did.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
There you go. Now they're up.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. So those are the three. So the three areas: club meeting, outside the club meeting, executive committee. And then for the club meetings, there's things that you need to do before the club meeting gets going. And then also when you arrive at the meeting and during the meetings. So before the club meetings, it's always good to post the previous meeting minutes. And you can do this if your club is on the Free Toast website. And I will show you how to do that right now if you've never done it. A real live example. Hopefully that'll help you. So I am going to, first you go to your club website, and it'll look similar to this, picture different of course, and sign in, which I already have. You would go over here to meeting agendas and select that. And then at the very bottom of the agenda, there's some fields that you may not know about, which can come in quite handy. This first one is meeting notes, and anyone can use these for any type of note. What I like to do is put in something about please review the attached minutes from our previous club meeting. Or whatever you'd like to, however you'd like to phrase it. And you can save those. And anyone who pulls up the agenda to sign up for roles will see the notes at the bottom. You save those meeting notes. And now the fun part is actually attaching the minutes. So you go down here where it says meeting minutes, upload files. You click on upload files. And that will take you to where your files are stored. I'm on Windows, so if you have Mac, it might look a little different. And I have my minutes right here. So I will click there. Click
Michelle,
open.
I'm going to interrupt. I'm sorry. You should be able to record now.
Oh, okay. I thought it was recording.
She's recording because I'm recording it and I'm a host. So you're good.
Yeah, because I wasn't able to record earlier,
You're
but
good.
Kristen took care of it. Okay. So here, this is what they want to name the file, so that's good. The thing that you need to look at is the description. The description will show up at the bottom of the agenda, and it always defaults to your next meeting date, which isn't what you want in this case, because these minutes in this case are from June 8th. So just be aware of that. So I go in and change that to June 8th. And the access is all members, and I click OK. And there they are. So that's a really cool way of saving trees, getting the minutes out to everyone, and making it easy on yourself. I think that's one of the easiest ways to do it.
Michelle,
Yes.
it's George.
Hi, George.
So I totally agree with what you're saying, but here's another option for those secretaries out there is that you can actually record or not record. You can actually type in anything that happened for the meeting right in the note section. That's what I use in Free Toast Toast. I don't do a separate document of minutes. I just, if there's anything important, if we voted on anything, like when we vote on our officers, if we vote on expenditures, I just make a note in that note and save the meeting notes, and then it's documented there.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Even easier. I guess I'm more old school, but either way, it's an easy way for everyone to make sure that the minutes are recorded and they're online. If you wanted to see what happened at a previous meeting, you can go to the agendas, and I can show you that as well.
How do the members access those minutes?
They would go to, they would log on to your club's website. They would come over to meeting agendas. They click that, the meeting agenda would come up. And for the minutes from the previous meeting, if you do like George, he'll have any items voted on right here. Or you can also upload the minutes like I just showed you. And then the club members, when they come on to the website to sign up for roles, they can go down to the bottom and see whatever notes anybody has left to know that there's meeting minutes there or what happened in the minutes, or look at the actual minutes themselves. And then to look at previous minutes from say a month ago, you would go up into the top and click on view another agenda, and you can pick another agenda and see if there's any minutes on it. They'll be at the bottom as well.
So which icon do they open to see the minutes next to it? There are three icons there.
Well, you'd click here to open the minutes. If you had the minutes, if you had it like George and you had the items in here, it's just right at the bottom of the agenda.
Yeah.
If you attach minutes like I did, you would just click right here.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So there's a couple different ways to do it, but the nice thing is these agendas are saved on Free Toast Toast via the I mean, the minutes are saved via the agenda. So as long as you're not wiping out old agendas and you're keeping them on there, on that drop-down screen that I showed you, the minutes will be there as well. Now, I always keep a backup. Since I actually do a minutes document, I keep a backup on my home computer. But you can see, you know, it'll go back for quite a ways. If you want to see all the agendas, you click list all the agendas. And then you have even more. You have stuff from way, way back. So it's a nice way to document what's happened in the club, any votes taken, and then be able to have it here on Free Toast Host as a reference for club members. And then I always keep my own as well as a backup. I like redundancy because I know how technology works. And when something goes down, it's nice to have another way to access it. So I have it both. I keep an electronic copy on my home computer, and then I also have the copy here on the Free Toast Host. Are there any other questions about that? How you would use this?
Michelle, there's a couple comments in the chat
Okay,
that I want. A couple people are saying that their club votes on the minutes before they file them. One option, even for that, is you can attach them here for review.
right.
Give everyone the week to review them, and then at the next meeting, at your next business meeting, you would say something along the lines of, the minutes were posted to the agenda for review. Are there any changes?
Mhm.
If people have changes and you make them, you can always swap the documents out.
Right,
If there's no changes, then you just say the minutes are approved as posted and you're done with them. And then that way you don't have to go back and do anything else. Also, to George's point, the way that he does it, that works, except sometimes, well, with our bank for the treasurer, when that switches over at the end of the year after the election, we have to take a signed copy of the meeting minutes to the bank in order to get the banking information changed over. So that way may work for your regular minutes, but when you do elections, you may have to actually do a physical copy of them that you can get signed. So just keep that in mind.
yeah, very true. Thanks, Kristen. Because they do look for that. When you go to the bank for the treasurer, they want to see that the president and secretary are authorized, usually are the two officers that they're looking for. Besides, or not president and treasurer, I'm sorry. And you need to, at least we did at Nevada State Bank, had to show a copy of the minutes showing that they had been voted on and approved. So we could make any changes to who's on the account. Okay, so I'm going to go back
I have
to,
a question, Michelle.
yes,
How can you email, someone had put in the chat that you can email the minutes to all the members. How do you do that?
I've never done that. Has anyone else?
The name is Z Zolnay.
I have.
Okay. Can you tell everybody how that works? I haven't done it like that.
Well, basically, I would send a email to the email addresses of nearly everyone in the club.
Okay. Yeah, you can do that. I was hoping there was a way, an easier way through Free Toast Host or something that you could hit a button and do it.
There is an easier way to do that, Michelle. They actually have a club member's address in Free Toast Host
Mhm.
that you can use to send out your email copy of the minutes.
Okay, okay. So yet another way. It's all kinds of options available to you. You can choose which one is easiest for you or makes most sense for you, and also depends on how much time you have to do it. I try to do things the most efficiently that I can, but we're always learning new things.
I have a question.
Mhm.
For minutes meeting, I want to know why it's important and is it a secretary job? Because in our club, not the secretary doing it. So I just want to know that.
The secretary is not doing minutes in your club?
No, it's my first time being a secretary on this club. So I just want to know.
Oh, okay. Did you have a secretary doing minutes before?
Yeah, I just want to know why it's important. And then is it the secretary job?
Okay. Well, it's important because the secretary is like a historian. In the minutes that they take, they show who attended, who was absent. I mean, the minutes I do even show what roles were taken by whom and what speeches were given and speech titles. I mean, you can be as detailed as you want, but it's also important that any motions and votes that are taken be documented as well for historical purposes. If anyone asks, well, when did the club approve that? The secretary can go back and say, oh, at our April 14th meeting, we approved changing, say, club dues to $2 a month from $1 a month, for example. Or we voted to purchase a new lectern or something like that. So that would be the historical records that show what the club actually voted on. And also to Kristen's point, if you have a treasurer change, and also the president should usually be on the account, you need actual minutes. The bank wants minutes done up showing that those two people in those positions were approved to be on the bank account. And you need to update your club officer list either once a year or twice a year, depending on how often your club meets. And I'll show you how to do that as well. So before the club meetings again, you can post the previous minutes or email them out or however you'd like to do that. I just showed you one option and you heard about a couple others. Prepare a list of actions for the president. This would be anything that was outstanding, any old business or something that was new business at the last meeting that needs to be addressed again. You can, have a list of items for the president to make sure that those get covered in the president's business meeting. And then also it's important to review your club roster on the Toastmaster site, especially if you're a club with a bunch of new members joining, to be able to see who's a member and know that when you're doing the minutes, if you indicate who was there and who was absent, you need to know who the members are. And if any members didn't renew in time and their names drop off, then you wouldn't want to keep showing them as absent if they're not a member any longer. And I'll show you how to review that roster as well. At the meetings, if you have a guest book, you need to circulate it, make sure all the guests sign in. Some clubs have a sign-in list for the members to sign in as well. Others just use the agenda. That's what I do. I use the agenda and I check off the names on there for everyone that's present and I write in the few that aren't. So we try to assign almost everyone either a speaking role at some point or a helper role or some role in the meeting. We try to get everyone involved. I know with larger clubs, sometimes that's more difficult. So a sign-in list might be the best way for the secretary to keep track of who was in attendance. And then the guest book, of course, is good to have, or some kind of sheet for any guests to sign up on so you can follow up with them. The club can follow up with them on joining, because we all need more members. During your club meeting, as we discussed a little bit already, you're going to request approval of the previous meeting's minutes. So if you have them posted or you sent them out, everyone can have a chance to look at those and let you know if there's any changes that need to be made. And then also you record the current meeting minutes. So we would record the start time when the meeting started, who was in attendance, what happened during the meeting, and the meeting end time. You'd need to get all of those. And I use the agenda for that. I mark on the agenda the time that we started, the time that we ended. If the word of the day or whatever is not on there, I'll add that on there. And then also everyone in attendance. So I don't really need to say who was absent at the time because I have my roster and I can see if everybody attended and who wasn't there. That's the easy way. Another way to use your roster for larger clubs. Couple clubs I'm in aren't that large, so it's easier to do. But if a large club, the roster really comes in handy for attendance. Okay, maintain accurate roster. Now I will show you where that is for those new secretaries. And that is on the Toastmasters International website. And that's one thing I want to make sure that you all understand, because when I joined 11 years ago, I had no idea. I just hear website this, website that. I didn't know what website to go to. So just to make it simpler, the club website, and most of us are on the free Toast Host, that's the one that I showed you. The club website is where you go in to sign up on the agenda for your meeting. You can go and review minutes there. Anything related to the club. You can have your club names and addresses and phone numbers and all of that. You get all that information there as well. Now the international site, that is for Toastmasters International. That is where you find the pathways. That is where you can change your officer list. And for treasurers, they submit dues through there. So there are two different websites. So now I will take you to the Toastmaster International website and show you how to look at your roster. First, you have to log in, which I already have done. Then you go to Leadership Central and you click that. And under Leadership Central, there's all kinds of options, but we're going to focus on Club Central. Club Central has all of the different features that most club officers would have access to. Regular members in the club may not have access to all of these features that I'll show you here. So Club Central will show you all of the clubs that you're a member of. These are my two clubs. So I'm going to click on my home club. And you see, wow, there's all kinds of information there. Under club membership, club administration. Under club membership, look, club roster. If you click that, it will show you your club roster. And it shows everyone, shows your name, it shows whether you're enrolled in pathways, what the dues are paid through, contact information, and all of that on the club roster. So this is something good to check, especially around dues time, because since you're not the treasurer, or sometimes you are, and you know who's paid dues, but as secretary, you need to know who's still a member and who isn't. And you can use the roster to do that, because as soon as a treasurer pays dues for a specific individual, this roster is updated almost instantly. And you can go on and see who has paid and who has not, and who are members and who are not. So that's how you access your roster. I think it's a very handy thing to be able to see. I use mine all the time. The other thing I wanted to show you is updating your club officers. Again, you don't have to go back to Leadership Central because we're right here. You go back to Club Central, and you click that. And now you go down the page and see where it says Club Officer Assignment. This is under Club Administration. This is where you go. Give that a click. And it has Club Officer Assignment. Now it has your current officers if you click this one, but that's not what you want. You want the future. And future, I believe, is the one that comes up automatically now, but just make sure that you're on the right one. Future, it'll be in gray once you click it. And then for your officers, it'll list them all. You do the drop down. I've already submitted mine, that's why it's all filled in, but you would do the drop down And you'd select from your members who had what role. Who's your new president, VP Ed, membership, PR, secretary, treasurer, and sergeant. And once you've gotten all those in and double and triple checked that you click the right drop down, that it matches your minutes, then you hit save. And that will save and send to international, and your club will be on its way to getting a point for submitting your club list on time. You may ask, what's on time? No later than June 30th. But for those of us with many, many years of experience, we know you do not wait until June 30th to enter your club officer list. You don't. Why? Because we are an international organization and there's a lot of procrastinators. They wait to the very last day, and guess what happens? It takes forever, or the website crashes, or it says it's too busy. So it's better to, once you have your club officer elections, go in right after while it's still fresh in your mind and update the list and get it done. If you're a new secretary and it hasn't been done yet, technically the previous secretary should have done it, but if they haven't, you can check with them. And if they haven't, now you know how. You just need to get that list of officers and come to this page. Again, log into the international page, Leadership Central, Club Central, Club Officer Assignment under Club Administration.
Michelle, you have to be a club officer to go in and make those changes. So if
Yes,
you've been elected, then you wouldn't be able to do that. The previous secretary should have done that.
right, right. Yes,
Unless- yeah.
yes. Go
Unless
ahead.
you had a previous officer role, but it wasn't secretary, you should still be able to see it. But if you had no officer role through
Right.
June 30th, you won't have access. Michelle, I just want to make 2 comments. First of all, please note up at the top there, it says Mountain Standard Time. All TI deadlines are based on Mountain Standard Time, which is an hour earlier than us. So even if you submitted it on June 30th at 11:30 p.m., you would not have made the deadline
No,
because,
it's an hour later.
yeah, I'm sorry, that's what I meant. We're an hour earlier.
You are-
So, yeah, so that means that, yeah, their time is different than us. So their deadline is already passed, even though it's not midnight here. So keep in mind, all their deadlines are based on Mountain Standard Time. And then I had one comment on the roster. Is it possible for you to go back and click on that, Michelle?
Sure.
I wanted to show people something I'm not sure if they knew is there.
So we're going back to club
Yeah.
roster.
Right. So
Okay.
you see some of them have little lock buttons.
Mhm.
So that means that people in your club have opted out of certain things. So sometimes if people are complaining that they're not getting emails from TI or they missed out on some kind of announcement that came from TI, you might want to go back and check here because they might have opted out of emails. So if you see the ones that have locks next to the email addresses, they've opted out of emails. So they might not be getting everything from TI. So just know that. Be aware if you have any members complain that they're missing emails from TI.
What does a lock on the name mean?
I'm not 100% sure. I think you can click on it and find out. I'm sitting here trying to click on it like I have access to this right now, but like
Now
not.
I'm clicking on it. I don't see anything.
Yeah, I think you can, I think they might have to go to their own profile to see what they've opted out of. So like Michelle, if you clicked on your own profile,
Yeah,
it should show you what you've opted out of.
I didn't opt out of
Also
anything.
hit edit. Hit edit by the
Yeah.
name. I think you can do some things there too.
Yeah.
If I hit, yeah, I hit.
So
edit
I don't
there.
think you opted out of
I-
anything.
I didn't opt out.
Yeah,
No.
so people who opted out, if they check their own profile, they should see what they've opted out of and be able to edit that information.
Okay,
So
very
that's all.
good. Thanks, Kristen. Yeah, sometimes it can be confusing with the two different websites. I know, especially if you're a newer member and new officer, because you hear, oh, go to the website, and you're thinking, oh, okay. So it's helpful if someone says, oh, go to the website, to ask which one, the club website or the international website. But as you've seen, there's a lot of information on the international website that you'll have as an officer, you have access to, that some of the other club members may not have access to. They won't have access to the club central information, the things that you've seen. They won't have access to those. So that's another benefit of being secretary, you get additional access. There any other questions on either the roster or updating the new officer list?
Michelle, you're an officer in this club, correct?
Yes.
So can you click on one that's got everything checked, edit, like George suggested, so we can see maybe what's there? As an officer, can you
Okay.
go in and edit?
Okay. It brought it up, but I don't see anything, any kind of lock removal program.
Michelle, I have the lock button. I checked my website. And what do I do to unlock it?
Do you have to go to your profile?
Yeah, I went to my
Mm.
profile and there is a lock.
Yeah, I think
It's probably the profile on the international site though, right? You know, when I first go in, I get that screen that pops up every time. I don't know if everybody does. And it says, these are the things you want and don't want. And it talks about emails and texts and mail and phone. And I don't know if it's that screen. Does anybody know? I don't know.
yeah, so if you go into your profile, you should be able to click on edit my privacy and consents. And if you click on the privacy and consent tab, so Michelle, click on your name up at the top where it says welcome, Michelle. That's like your secret way into everything. And then you see right there, it said edit contact information and privacy. If you click on that,
Oh, okay.
then a third one over on the top, it says my privacy and consents.
Oh, okay.
And then
Yeah.
that tells you what you've opted in and out of. So you can go back in there and change those.
Okay.
Can you go over those one more time or put it in the chat room, please?
Sure.
So obviously that when you scroll down and it says your name, that's where the lock comes up on someone's name, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, all the locks are related to those questions.
Okay.
So
cool.
depending on what you clicked yes or no on, that will determine whether or not you show a lock. So if you've said no to something, it'll show a lock on that item.
And so what that means to us as the secretary is if they've locked that area, you won't get a drop down. So if you look at the club roster and you go into edit, there'll be things that you can edit with drop downs, and the things that they have locked out, you will not have a drop down for. Does that make sense, everyone?
Yeah, and if you've locked out email, that means TI cannot send you emails. So all of the different emails that go out about things that are going on or changes, things like that, they won't be able to email you.
Does that also affect the ability for the district to send you emails?
In theory, yes. However, we've bypassed Shh, don't tell anybody. No, we've bypassed that because with Constant Contact, you have the additional option to unsubscribe to Constant Contact. So at least the first time the district emails everybody, we email you whether or not you've opted out of TI emails. And then if you also don't want district emails, then you can opt out of that in Constant Contact. Unfortunately, some people do. And then they say, well, I didn't know TI was coming up or TLI, or I didn't know this was happening. Well, that's why, because you've unsubscribed or opted out of things and it blocks us from contacting you.
The same thing
is
with elections,
unfortunately-
the same
Yeah.
thing with elections.
Yep.
Yeah. So again, really quickly, as I know somebody had a question, when you click your name, that's the secret backdoor in, like Kristen said, it's also the backdoor into Pathways. But she just I clicked my name, you go to edit contact information. And then over to privacy and consents. And that's to do your own. You won't have control over what other people selected, but you can let them know that's how they do it. For me, every time I log on to the international website, that page pops up. I don't know if there's a way to get rid of that, but it pops up every single time asking me to reconfirm my choices of the emails and phone calls and mail and everything else that I want.
Michelle, I went to my profile and I changed it and I put all yes, but when I go to my account, it's still locked. So what do I do next?
I think it takes
If
it.
somebody can teach me privately on that. I know this we were time on this one.
I think TI doesn't update until like midnight. So if you make changes, it is not necessarily in real time. So
Okay.
but make sure that you've hit the save button, because there should be a save button at the bottom after you change those consents. So make sure you've saved them. And if you have and they still don't update, it's probably just a timing issue with their website.
Yeah, their website doesn't refresh until just once, I think at midnight or whatever, sometime after the end of the workday.
Well, one of the exciting things that people don't realize is that secretaries get to vote at the international convention. Usually for district conferences, it's the president and vice president of education that get to vote at the business meeting. For international conferences or conventions, they call them, it's president and secretary. So if you're actually attending, you can vote, or if you're not able to attend, you can assign your vote via proxy to the district director. But secretaries do get to vote. That's another advantage. You can facilitate members in base camp, so you have access to see the progress of different club members in base camp. You arrange for your replacement if you're going to miss a meeting. You can ask someone else if they can take the minutes for you, especially if there's going to be things to be voted on. You want that in writing. And then, of course, prepare your successor for office. And what I would do is, since I do actual minutes, I would send them the actual minutes from a meeting, and they can use the same format if they like, rather than have to recreate the wheel, because no one wants to do that. We don't have time to do that. We're all busy people. So that's been helpful for me in the past.
Michelle,
Yes.
George, when you talked about base camp,
Yes.
basically you can go in and approve someone's completion of a level.
Mhm.
And also then you need to go back into Club Central and go to the DCP report and update it there as well, because they don't talk to each other. So when
Right.
a member completes level 1, you can go in, or the president can go in and actually approve it in Pathways, but you
Mhm.
must also go into Club Central and update the DCP information so that your club is getting those points in the DCP program.
Right. We don't have time to cover that here, because that's primarily the vice president of education's role. But yeah, secretaries are a backup for that. So when you have executive committee meetings, of course, you have minutes from that as well. And you present the minutes to the committee and get them approved, and then record the current meeting minutes, so what's ever happening at that meeting. Then your responsibilities: how, when, who, what, the basic questions. I think we've answered a lot of questions here, especially on materials and resources to use. The June 30th deadline for having the club officers entered. And like George was talking about, if you're not a club officer already, you do not have access to Club Central, so you cannot update that list. But what you can do is check with the current secretary and make sure that he or she has done that. So these are your checklist items. First one you've already done. Attend district-sponsored club training. Yay, you've done that already. Reading materials, meeting with your outgoing secretary, meeting with your executive committee, the new one, which hopefully the president will set that up. Confirming the submission of your officer list with the current secretary, make sure that gets in. And then review and order any needed materials for the club. And those are in most clubs voted on. So that's not something you can just say, oh, I'm gonna go buy this and that. You need to have the club approve it. Additional resources, we covered the ones about going on to toastmasters.org. That's where all of your resources will be. And this concludes this session. There's the next session that they have is for base camp managers. And that's where you will learn how to back up your vice president of education, be able to approve people's levels like George was talking about. They'll go into more detail on that, how to do that. And that should be very helpful to you. And with that, I want to thank you all for attending the session. And please consider going to the base camp session. I think it'll be very helpful for you. Thank you all.
Excellent job, ET.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
Michelle, that was awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Somebody
Thank you,
asked how
Michelle.
long the records are maintained on Free Toast Host. I'm not sure, but I'm sure that it's set to match up with TI requirements.
Yeah, I was looking at the minutes when I pulled them up. It was going back to 2016.
Yeah, mine go back as far as my club was chartered. So I don't know what the exact number is, but I know it's more than 5 years because our club's been around for 6.
Yeah, good information.
I think a lot of it has to do when you started Free Host Toast, because a lot of clubs did not start that right away.
Right.
So if your club's been around for a while, but you didn't start that. And then one more add-on about updates on Toastmasters International website. Any officer can update the education, but you can't do your own.